Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes with some of the buyer's agents? Well, some of the truths I'm going to share today might actually shock you. But before I jump into that, if you're looking at watching stuff about investment properties or you want to understand the Brisbane market, please like or subscribe to this channel. So the first thing is, some buyer's agents are looking to get a quick commission. And the way that I say that is because, some of the organizations are so big, they're like behemoth companies, and they have to hit their 20 or 30 purchases a month, which is like near impossible when stock levels are so low. So the only reason why they would need you to buy regional is particularly because it's very hard to buy in capital cities, especially like Brisbane. But the truth is, you can still buy in the Brisbane area. I have someone that's been talking to me for about a year and a half now, and they have up to about 700k to spend, and now I think they're talking to another buyer's agent, which is pushing them to buy in Cairns, which is absolutely crazy because they can still get a dual lock property here in Brisbane at that price point, which is going to give them, 6.5% yield. But I think the glossy papers around the market pressures or whatever this buyer's agent is showing them is pushing them to buy in Cairns. So just when you go to engage a buyer's agent, just work out, just look how big their team is. Don't get caught up with the glossy papers around market pressures, and just think, hey, look, why are they pushing these regional areas so badly? Most of the time it's because they got to buy 20, 30 properties a month to cover their the team, the overheads, the administration staff that they build up over time, and unfortunately, you end up having to get a subpar home with your budget. The second thing is, say you go to the website and you're like, oh cool, this guy, he owns 8 properties and he's done A, B, and C, and I really want to work with this buyer's agent. Yes, you might pick up the phone and you might chat to that buyer's agent, but in reality, once you've signed up, you then go into this long queue and you're actually working with the admin staff. They've got somebody that's on the ground that's sourcing. They've got somebody that's doing some sort of admin role. So your purchase is then getting thrown into the sausage factory. And you're not really working with that particular buyer's agent. Unfortunately, that buyer's agent's time's worth a lot more now that they're not really working with you. So this is a very profitable model from that stage. They get you in the door. They pay the admin staff maybe, $1,500. They pay everybody else $1,500. And then they keep the difference, $10,000 with doing no work. But unfortunately, I see this all the time. And the poor buyers end up getting a subpar property. Like I was talking to a guy yesterday that had a bad run where he had, the Sydney buyer's agent buy his friend a property in really far Ipswich, and they paid like nearly 700k for it. And it just really doesn't look that good, and it's left a bad taste in his mouth. And the reality is, if his friend did work with a local buyer's agent and more of a buyer's agent that was going to work with him one-on-one, he probably wouldn't have spent that much, and he would have actually got a good result. So making sure that you're working with a experienced buyer's agent that's maybe done it for 3-4 years, and you're actually going to be working with them directly from end to end, that's going to yield you a better result. Yes, it may not look as exciting as the nice websites and the glossy papers, but end of the day, you want to get an investment property that's actually going to give you that capital growth so you can move on through your future. You don't want to be getting like something that you could essentially just buy yourself. You don't really need a buyer's agent. Once you go to regional towns, it's like there's no demand out there, like you just jump on and you can just buy it. Just go to Townsville and pick it and buy it. So don't get caught up in the glossy papers and the wording. It can just throw people off, and it's really just smoke and mirrors. Lastly, to note, when you're going to buy your investment property, do your own research around like, are you buying for capital growth or are you buying for yield? The best thing, the best explanation I could say is that, when you're buying your first investment property, you really want to get, capital growth up front. because I'm doing this myself, like pretty much all the clients I've purchased for in the last 6 months have made 100 grand capital growth, but they're negatively gearing $100 or $200 a week. The best way I like to think about it is, cool, you make $100 per week in positive cash flow, or you neutral gear it. But let's say the best result, because you brought in a regional town, is that you get $100 a week, and then over the year you've made $5,000, and then over the next 5 years you made $25,000. Maybe the property's gone up, you've made 10% growth over the next 5 years. You're at maybe 70 grand. But what's happening here in Brisbane is that we're buying these properties and they're going up 100 grand in the first 6 months, but they're costing about $100 a week. Yes, it might be costing money in the short term, but the clients that I'm working with, it's put them in a position to buy a second property in the first, 6 months or even the first year. And like I done this personally, I bought a place in late September for $495,000, and we're in February now. I'm using that to buy my next property with zero deposit. I was able to utilize that first deposit to buy my next property, and that's not the reality if you go regional. So make sure you work out, okay, even if you're at your first investment property, just focus on like capital growth, because it's hard to save 100 grand in 6 months, So at least if you buy the right asset, you can just slingshot that capital growth, and then you can go with the third or the fourth property, go get yield, and that's when you start to diversify to look at more cash flow and capital growth. So do your own research. It's really straightforward. You don't really need to do all these property courses. It's kind of where would you like to live? Go on there. You can have. I'm going to make a video about it, but you can look at, how much stock's available, how much demand is going into that suburb, medium income, and all of that. It's quite easily, you can find that, or you can use a tool called Suburbs Finder, which I use, but you don't need to go and spend thousands of dollars on a course. All the answers are really just it's really straightforward. You got to think about where would you want to live yourself, and yeah, don't get caught up with the smoky mirrors, as I could say. So that wraps it up. Those are the 3 truths about buyer's agents out there at the moment. Not all buyer's agents are like that. I just wanted to share that because, I'm seeing, I'm talking to investors that are being led astray, and it's unfortunate. They're spending, 500, 600K in these regional towns, which is really unfortunate for them, because they are getting convinced by buyer's agents that have big numbers to hit and big profits to make, but it's not actually the best result for these investors. If you are interested in more information around buyer's agents and locations, I'm going to be sharing more videos around what to look for when you are going to invest. What are the 4 or 5 components you should look out for? I'll probably create an easy to download list, but like and subscribe to the videos, and I look forward to chatting to you next time.